your girl Shalae, and I'm back today with another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing new SNAP proposals. Guys, we have some disaster SNAP going on. We also have a ban on soft drinks. We have a Texas update, a Florida update, summer EBT. This is going to be a long video, okay? So definitely grab a snack. But if you want to know what is going on in the lovely world of EBT, my darling, you already know what to do. Stay tuned. Your girl's got you covered. Now, if this is your first time tuning into my channel, hi, hello, hey, friend. My name is Shalae, and here on this channel, we discuss shopping, saving, and everything in between. I would love to have you a part of my internet family. Super easy. Click the big old red subscribe button down below, and you're in just like that. And while you're at it, go ahead and give me a like, especially if you love me bringing this content. Now, guys, if you are an EBT recipient, go ahead and try Amazon Prime out for free, okay? On your girl, 30 days. All you have to do is click the link above or below. Now, let's go ahead and kick things off with the pandemic EBT for this school year. That is right, August of 2022 through May or June of 2023. The following states have been approved. Kicking things off with the hometown, Alabama, Roll Tide. Alabama will issue benefits on a monthly basis beginning in February of this year and ending in June. Arizona will issue out benefits in 2 payments, March and May. Georgia will issue benefits on a monthly basis beginning in June and ending in September. Hawaii will issue 2 separate payments. Indiana will issue benefits in late April and then in late May. Louisiana will issue all benefits in late July. Massachusetts will issue benefits in 2 payments, one in May and one in August. Minnesota will issue benefits beginning in April or May and then pay out in July. Michigan will issue benefits beginning in April and end in June. New Jersey will issue benefits on a monthly basis in February and end in July. New Mexico will issue benefits beginning in April and end in September. North Carolina will issue benefits on a monthly basis beginning in February and ending in July. North Dakota will issue benefits on June 15th. Ohio will issue benefits in a single payment, and then they're going to issue benefits on a monthly basis for the rest of the school year. Rhode Island will issue benefits on 3 separate installments in February, and then they will pay out on a monthly basis beginning in March. Virginia will issue benefits on a monthly basis beginning in March and ending in September. Vermont will begin issuing benefits in April and end in early September. Wisconsin will issue benefits beginning in March and end in July. All right, and so if you haven't watched my last video, definitely go check out that video if you want to know what is going on with summer pandemic EBT, because guys, come a little closer, a little bit closer. The amounts have changed for this year. So remember, in 2021 we had $375, and then in 2022 it went up to $391. Where in 2023 is going to $120 per child, and some children are not included, okay? So definitely check out that video. But the following states have been approved for $120 per child for summer EBT: Alabama, Arizona, Hawaii, Louisiana, Utah, Vermont, and Wisconsin. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off with the proposals, because that's what you're here for, and a lot is going on in SNAP, guys. So today, House Republicans are taking their first jab, okay, at the federal spending on nutrition programs for low-income Americans. Now, this will not be the last, so I'm going to go ahead and warn you now. Representative Dusty Johnson, we can go down that route, okay? He introduced a new bill today to expand on the current restrictions for those who qualify for SNAP benefits. Now, this is nothing new. We know that lawmakers want to curb the nutrition spending this year. They want to do it possibly in the Farm Bill. They want to do it in a lot of areas. The one thing that's concerning is the House Democrats right now has yet to mount like a coordinated response. raising concerns on the caucus about whether they are going to fend off these attacks or if they're going to negotiate over the debt limit budget in the 2023 Farm Bill. So I told you the 2023 Farm Bill, this is a hot topic. It's coming down in September, but Dusty Johnson's bill would expand the age bracket for able-bodied SNAP recipients without dependents who meet complicated work requirements. Now, I've talked about the able-bodied work requirements on my channel before. I'll link in the cards a video, but the legislation would like to limit the federal government's ability to waive those work requirements for states that are abusing like those loopholes in the system. Now, according to Dusty, okay, work is the only path out of poverty. And he hopes that his proposal will be folded into the upcoming Farm Bill, which lawmakers will draft later on this year. Now, other GOP lawmakers, they are now pressing for similar work requirements. When I told you that you have to work like 20 or 30 hours per week, they want that to be a part of any deal on the debt limit and the White House, according to the House GOP. Now, Senator Rick Scott, he reintroduced a bill in January that would raise the age for food assistance work requirements by a decade. So right now, I want to say it's 49, but he wants to raise it to 59 years old. Now, Democrats, however, know that the majority of the people who receive SNAP benefits, they are already working, right? And at the moment, they're just struggling with the challenge of how do we, accommodate these raising food prices as well as the increase with all the other bills that they have going on. So I told you the Farm Bill, this is going to be a hot topic. Let's see how this unfolds. But speaking of proposals, there's now a proposal that could ban soft drinks. Yeah, soda, pop, wherever you want to call it. But they want this in the latest proposal. Good old Ralph Masula, he is sponsoring legislation that would urge Congress to prohibit SNAP benefits to purchase soft drinks. That is great. No Coca-Cola, no Fanta, none of the things, okay? Masula's legislation called a memorial on the Sunshine State, and he asserts that by consuming soft drinks, this can lead to like nutritional deficiencies such as health disorders, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, all the things, right? And these soft drinks are nutrient poor and rich in calories. So Scott is trying to do with this memorial is present evidence that the federal government, that they need to evaluate these programs and make them more nutritious to help people that are in need. Okay. I don't know about this one. Now, Masula did tell a Florida House committee last week, and some of the Democrats on the committee, including like Representative Rita Harris, as well as Michelle Gooseby, counted that the legislation could end up shamming people who try to purchase drinks on SNAP benefits. Now, I don't think this is going to anywhere. I think this is a bunch of crock, but here we have it. Now, the representatives that he told all this information to, they have been on food stamps at one point in their life, and they were like, look, this is a little bit hypocritical, and that you're saying that people who receive SNAP benefits shouldn't be able to purchase soda, but people that have money can buy whatever they want. So you're just trying to pretty much focus on this certain group to restrict what they can buy. That doesn't make sense at all. I don't believe this one is going to go anywhere. Of course, we have Elizabeth Dewitt. She entered the chat, she's over the Florida Beverage Association, and she said that her organization opposes this legislation. Of course, girl, you're over the Beverage Association. You don't want them to stop it anyway. But she said, look, the question is whether SNAP recipients are being treated unfairly by bans on certain items that other consumers can purchase. I think she said it all. Now, Florida isn't the first state to consider like the ability of SNAP recipients to purchase certain items. I remember like Illinois as well as Minnesota and even Texas, they have all pursued their own initiatives. We'll talk about Texas later on in the video, but none of those proposals were successful as well. And I want to say even in Maine, they had efforts where they tried to prohibit food assistance benefits from being used to buy like sugar or sweetened drinks or even candy, and that was denied by the federal government. So I'm not understanding where Florida Scott representative is getting this information, but on numerous occasions the industry has successfully blocked attempts to include like these things in the Farm Bill in 2018. So it hasn't went anywhere. And so now it's like they're trying to put all these things in the Farm Bill. I don't think it's going to happen. But speaking of Texas, let's go ahead and keep the party going, where now food banks are calling on state lawmakers to update the SNAP vehicle asset test. So Texas food banks are now calling on the state law. They're like, look, I need for you guys to update the SNAP vehicle asset test to further assist families in need. So eligibility for SNAP is usually based on like your household size and your family income, right? But Texas is one of the handful of states that still uses a vehicle asset test. This places a limit on the value of vehicles that a household may own, as well as still qualify for the SNAP program. Now, many families are being denied benefits because of inflation, and it has elevated the value of their assets, but not in a positive way. So right now, with like inflation and the current economic times, everything has gone up. I want to say like in California, they had now where used cars were almost $20,000 and $30,000. So that's on a used car. So new cars, of course, it's a lot more. But by putting these limits on those cars way higher than the current limit set by the commission, due to the value of these vehicles increasing, then that is making it harder for people to qualify for SNAP benefits in Texas. And there's a number of Texans that have been denied benefits due to this. And I mean, what do you exactly want them to do? In 2019, I want to say that there was 105 households that were denied because of the vehicle test. Then in 2022, 520 families were denied, and they have a $15,000 vehicle threshold that hasn't been updated since 2001. So pretty much if your vehicle assets total more than $15,000, you would be denied benefits in Texas. And the food banks are like, due to the current situation, this is not a go right now. I mean, some Texas families, they have to make like life-altering decisions in order to do this. Either they have to do one, drain out their bank accounts, right, empty or deplete their savings, or even sell their vehicles so they don't qualify for that $15,000 threshold. And really, that's impossible, especially if you want people to have, work requirements or even go to work or be able to travel to work, take kids to school, and all those things that you need to do with a vehicle. Like, what in the world is going on? So as of right now, vehicles are very important to the communities, especially for communities that don't have public transportation. I'm in Alabama. We have a lot of rural communities that don't have public transportation. Let me know, does your state have a vehicle asset test? What do you think about this? The $15 threshold, does it need to be included? Let me know all the things. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and go next door to Louisiana, where nearly 1.5 million households stopped receiving federal food assistance in Louisiana during a 4-year period. Now, of those, more than 80% of the cases that were closed were due to non-financial procedural reasons, rather than having like too much income, based on an audit by the Louisiana legislative. According to the audit, the most common non-financial procedural reason for Louisiana households to lose benefits was not completing like their redetermination, which is a simplified report. This was the case for about 58% of people within the last fiscal year. So SNAP cases were not closed due to like households making too much money or not even meeting the work requirements, or even for reasons like drug convictions or moving out the state or a death that was not reported, but it was for not completing a redetermination. Now, the audit also found that the DCFS system for receiving complaints also has some deficiencies as well in allowing the agency to track like trends and even determine if these complaints were valid. So the department's call center vendor that they have not even been meeting their contractual obligations. So it looks like, hey, in Louisiana, if you do your redetermination, you'll get approved, but that's not a reason to really just take people off the system completely. But it's not just happening in Louisiana. This is happening in New York as well. So New York City Welfare Agency is processing only about 36% of food stamp applications on time. And I know this because a lot of you are saying down in my comments below, like, you still have yet to receive your benefits from summer and different things as well. But according to the Commissioner Molly Park during a city council hearing on Monday, the accounts for her agency food stamp timeliness rate as of December, it was increased significantly. Now, under federal and state timeliness rules, applications for SNAP benefits must be processed within 30 days. The December rate fails to comply with these requirements. Now, according to the acting commissioner, she was like, look, I'm not going to pretend like we don't need staff. We do need staff. As of right now, there's more than 2,000 positions that are sitting vacant, as well as at the Department of Social Services, including hundreds of jobs in the HRA Welfare Processing Division. Between those vacancy reductions as well as current unfulfilled position, claim the Department of Social Services, this is the reason why for those longer timelines due to low staffing levels. So there we have it. So are you still waiting for your SNAP benefits in New York? Let me know, comment down below. Next, we are headed to Oklahoma, where February storm victims, you may qualify for disaster SNAP benefits. So the Oklahoma Department of Human Services said that if you lost food between February 26 storms and you reside like in Roger Mills, Cleveland, and it's a few other areas, I want to say like Stevenson or McLean counties, you may qualify for replacement SNAP benefits. Now remember, if you already are on SNAP benefits, you would not qualify for those disaster SNAPs, but you can also reach out for replacement benefits. The time frame for reporting and destroying food due to the February 2023 storms and tornadoes is March 30th. So households in those counties that I named, you can have your benefits replaced as long as you go ahead and report your losses by March 30th, okay? Next, we are headed to the tribal nations, where they want a regional food trade hub. Now, according to the indigenous advocates, the SNAP rollback will impact the tribal communities as well, which is already food insecure as a result of like the settler colonialism, land theft, and then even forced removal of the native nations that disrupted their native food system. So we know March 1st ended the SNAP benefits for everyone, but the tribal nations are saying, look, they are having an even harder time when it comes to like over their land, their agriculture, and it's imperative that you be able to help the tribal reservations. They also are considering things like food deserts as part of the country, you know, that lack like fresh fruits and vegetables and even healthy foods due to the lack of grocery stores on their reservations. So a lot of their reservations don't have like markets or healthy food providers, but even with the access to a SNAP card, because they might be like in deserted areas, they still may have limited options that you wouldn't be able to find like in urban cities or even grocery stores. So they want the tribes to have the authority to administer programs like SNAP independently, and also want to create like a regional food trade hub that will serve as a food central point for a specific area. Now, this will allow the tribal community stability as well as within their community. So they're just looking for solutions or even more ways for like regional perspectives or solutions based on what will work for those communities. And I mean, I can understand that. So I'm not sure. I know in, I want to say Portland, they have like bags and fresh produce for the Native community members. And then they also host, I want to say volunteer days, or Mondays and Saturdays. They teach gardening techniques, I think I read about. So there's a different thing that other areas are doing as well. And this is it. This is what we have going on in SNAP. I told you guys it was going to be a long one. This is longer than usual, but it was a lot of news going on in SNAP. Let me know down below, what do you think about the work requirements? What do you think about a ban on soda or pop, depending on your region? Let me know, what do you call it? Or do you just call it soda pop? What do you think about including these things in the Farm Bill, the Native communities being able to have their own regional hub. Let's talk about it. But like I said, this will not be the last that you hear from SNAP. I am going to try to continue to do a weekly update on SNAP unless things come out a little bit earlier than that. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe. If you are an EBT recipient, go ahead and try out Amazon Prime for 30 days free on your girl. And that's all I have. I'll talk to you later, Gator. Bye, guys.